Hello, everybody. We are just opening the restaurant doors, the virtual menu for change gathering. We're looking forward to you joining us today. We will just wait a moment or two to let everybody come in and get settled. But thank you very much for joining us. So just to make everybody aware, you should have heard, but this session is being recorded. There will be a point where we'll be asking you to actually add some answers to some polls. Those will also be recorded. So we just want to make that clear to you. So let's get started. Everybody's comfortable. Hopefully you've got a drink and maybe some snacks. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome everybody to a very fast-paced, food-based menu for change. So my name is Lee Wray-Davies, and I'm one of the directors for education at the Foundation for Environmental Education, or FEE, and we're going to be your hosts for today for this meal. So you might be familiar with some of our global programs. Their logos are on the bottom of the slide here. So we have Eco Schools, learning about ecosystems and forest, Green Key, Young Reporters for the Environment, Blue Flag. And we also have an Eco Campus program as well. Possibly next slide, please. Thank you. So today then, if we could just go to the next slide, thank you. So today then, through our menu for change, we're going to be exploring the very powerful connection between food security and climate change. These are two big topics that we can't look at in isolation. And we're going to have a look at how the choices we make about the food that we're eating can help create a fairer and healthier planet for everybody. And so this session today is it's designed to be deliciously engaging. We're going to have the different sections of the menu to walk you through our events today. There's going to be a real mix. We'll have science, we'll have creativity, we'll have community and conversation, but most importantly, we're going to have things for you to take away that will be actions. So we're going to move on to the first part of our menu, which is going to be the starter. And this is going to be over to you. We're going to have a very quick quiz to get our minds and our appetites going. So the team are going to share on screen 4 questions that we'd like you to answer. So the first one is coming up now. I think we've got all 4 questions up, but that's fine if people want to go through. So the first question that we're asking is, how much do you think about where your food comes from? So we've all joined us here today. Is this the first time you're starting to think about this, or is this something that weighs quite conscious on when you're buying your produce? So is it not at all? And that is fine. Today's session will help us change this. Occasionally, or every time you buy and eat your food, there's something. So very quickly, first thought, just another couple of seconds on this, and we will reveal, or I will get to see the answers. So can we see the results, please? Or can we share the results? Okay. Oh, excellent. Okay, so it's coming in about 46% occasionally and 49% every time we buy food. By the end of this session, that will be 100%, hopefully. Fantastic. Okay, question number 2, please. So question number 2, then, we want you to start having to think about where you are and where you live. And specifically, I think that's coming up now, what type of food makes you feel like you're at home, makes you feel happy, makes you feel comfortable? We have a very good connection with food. So we're going to give you a little bit longer to answer this, about 30 seconds or so. Type in a meal, a food, a recipe, something that makes you feel most at home. So we'll just give you a little minute to go through those. We were saying before in our team, for me personally, I'm based in England. It's anything that's got potatoes in it, anything that's potato based. Okay, 10 more seconds, and then we're going to have a look at some of these lovely, wonderful answers. And the reason that we're asking you this question will be revealed later on when we show you some sneak peeks of what's going to be our global action activity. So can we reveal the answers, please? Let's have a look. This is making me hungry just waiting to see the answers come up here now as well. So whilst our team's just waiting to switch them over, we can start to be having a little, don't worry guys, so we can start to be having a little think here. Soup, okay, rice, chicken, pizza, excellent, great choice. Mediterranean food, very nice. Sunday, yeah, very traditional to have a sit down meal, perhaps with a family on a Sunday. What else have we got? Belgian food, excellent, very nice, very nice. Team, if everything's good on your side, can we do the third question, please? Fantastic. So these questions are hopefully they're going to get us to start to think about connections with food before we welcome our guest speakers who will be joining us in just a moment. So question number 3 is, which 3 of these food actions do you think have the biggest positive impact on the planet? So again, there's no right or wrong answer with this. It's entirely up to you, but we do, out of the 5 that are on here, we'd like you to pick only 3. Again, this will influence some of the work that we do later on. So 15, 20 seconds, pick 3 off this list here that you think for you personally are the most important. And again, please remember there is no right or wrong answers on here. So choosing seasonal, eating more plant-based meals, buying organic or eco-labeled products, reducing our food waste, or supporting local farmers, local producers, and local systems. Okay, team, if we're good, can we share the answers that are coming up here? Let's see which is the most popular. Now, we have cheated a little with this because actually all have good ways and solutions. But coming up is reducing food waste. Good. So within our group here, the majority are saying reducing food waste, which is then followed by choosing seasonal produce, and then very, very closely followed by supporting farmers and local producers. So that's excellent. The least one is buying organic and eco-labeled products. So again, bear that in mind when we have a look at some of our actions for later on. And then the final question, please, guys, question 4. Okay, so we've had a look at what things we think perhaps are the ways solutions, but now we just want to ask what might be the barrier in your community. We know about these things, we know what we should be doing, but what's a barrier to having accessibility to healthy, sustainable diets? This time, you can pick just one answer, please. So is it actually lack of access to getting the food, maybe transport getting to areas? Is it lack of time? You've got very busy lives, busy with school, busy with work. You might not know how to prepare. You might like the look of some of this food, but you don't necessarily know how to cook or how to use the food. Or actually, it's just too expensive. So we'll just give a few more seconds if you can pick one. And team, if you can share the answers, please. Thank you. Expensive, interesting. Okay, that's good. So healthy choices are too expensive. That's interesting to see, and we've got quite a globally diverse audience here, so it's interesting to see that that's a proportion. Lack of awareness to prepare healthy food, then access, and then time. So time's actually the least one. So again, great. Hopefully by the end of this session, we will have some ways to help overcome some of those solutions for you. Okay, so next part of the session, we are moving over to our main course, the main part. Okie dokie. Next slide, please. So, to begin our main course, we've got a treat for you. I am delighted to introduce Cecilie Wright. Ellen is a senior science officer at EAT, and that's a global organisation leading the way in food system transformation through science and collaboration. And today, Ellen's going to share with us some insights on the planetary health diet, which is something we'll find out more about and something that will help you with some activities we're going to have a look at later in the year. And Ellen's also going to be showing how we can do actions that are going to help us and both the planet. So please welcome me virtually, everybody, as we welcome Ellen to the table. Ellen, over to you.
Thank you, Lee, and thanks for having me here, and thanks for everyone showing up today. It's super exciting for me to be here and speak to you, because I mean the work I am doing and my colleagues is all about the youth, children, our future, because we really want to bring the planet in a good shape for the youth, for the next generation, so that you will also have the opportunity to live an amazing life on this beautiful planet that we're living on today. So hopefully our contribution through the food system, and for me specifically is through research on sustainable food systems, can contribute to keeping this planet in a good shape for a few more years or longer. Yeah. So I'm going to speak about the Eat Lancet Commission, which which is a research paper that was just published a couple of weeks ago, where we assess the global food system, where we are today, and also future projections. You could actually go one slide back, please. So, because why are we doing a food system analysis, or why do we do make a plan for the future food system? It is because of all these challenges that we are confronted with today. So it's about we're in countries, between countries, unfair societies that we're meeting that are all linked, it's linked to food systems. All these things that you can see on the screen here are in one way or another linked to food systems, and where we also believe that food or food systems can be a solution. Conflicts and hunger, all forms of malnutrition, obviously linked to your diet, diet-related diseases, climate change, biodiversity loss. All of these things are closely linked to what we eat and how we produce that food. And we also think that the solution to solve some of these challenges are laying in food. Next, please. So the Eat Lancet Commission, as I mentioned, it's a huge global study where we looked at these 5 different variables in relation to the food system. And with health, we've assessed healthy diets, environment. It's about sustainable production, sustainable food production specifically, and then justice is about justice in the food system. So healthy access to food for all, but also fair and just working conditions for food system workers. We've done future modeling, modeling scenarios, where the food system can go in the future, and then also done an analysis. So how can we transform to a more livable, sustainable future when it comes to food systems. So we looked at health, environment, and justice. Those ones we have quantified and analyzed independently, and then we mixed them together in the modeling exercise when we're looking at the future scenarios. Next, please. So defining healthy diets. So I don't know, maybe most countries in the world have food-based dietary guidelines. So these are guidelines that are telling you what to eat, or not telling you what to eat, recommending what is a healthy dietary pattern, speaking to major food groups, so such as grains, vegetables, legumes, meat, fish, dairy products, the different major food groups. And in this assessment, we looked at all available evidence on, like, research evidence that has been done on dietary intake and health outcomes. So what kind of dietary pattern would be the most healthy for people to prevent chronic diseases, chronic diet-related diseases, but also to prevent undernutrition, macronutrient deficiencies, obesity, overweight, so all forms of malnutrition. What is the most healthy diet that we should all consume? And this, when looking at the big food groups, it is really, you know, the same for every country in the world. So we all, it's the same because we're all humans. It's the same things that are healthy, even if you live in Mexico or Italy or Indonesia or in South Africa. It's the same foods or the same food groups that are healthy everywhere. Next, please. So based on our assessment, this is what we have come up with as kind of the plate that you should look at. So really fill your plates with fruits and vegetables. And in general, we do recommend that you have a diversity on your plates, that it's mostly whole foods, minimally processed foods, with an abundance of fruits and vegetables, with lots of whole grains, so whole grains rather than refined grains. It's nuts and legumes, and these fruits we recommend you to have every day, and lots of it every day. And then the animal source foods are like fish, dairy, meat, poultry, eggs, dairy foods, a bit, maybe like 2 portions a day, so a portion of dairy, and the other food groups maybe once or twice a week. So a more moderate intake of the animal source foods. And then also to really limit your sugar and salt intake is recommended. So this is kind of the healthy plate, how your meal plate could look like if you want to have a healthy meal. And also interestingly, when we assess this plate for environmental impact, we also see that this is quite a sustainable diet. It also has a lower impact than most current diets. So really filling your plate with fruits and vegetables and whole grains is really good for your body and for the planet. Next, please. So here you can see it more quantified in numbers. So all the different food groups that we have looked at: vegetables, fruits, whole grains, the plant foods on the left, and then the animal source in the middle, and then also the added fat, sugar, and salt, which you should have less of. And as you can see, we have like a main number, and then it's ranges. And it's really the ranges that we emphasize in what we call the planetary health diets. Because it's everything within that range which constitutes or is linked to health in the scientific evidence. And it also allows for some flexibility so that you can shift between the food groups. So you can eat within that range, maybe not on the upper end of all of the food groups. So if you consume a lot of dairy, maybe a bit less chicken or beef, or so that you can mix it between. And you can also see that some of the ranges go down to 0. So you can also be healthy, being a vegetarian or vegan, or pescatarian, or the flexitarian, as we're showing here as kind of the average setup that we have, which is also, so all those variants can be healthy and nutritionally adequate. Next, please. And then we've looked at around the world, how does this, the planetary health diet, does it look like the kind of diet that we currently have around the world? So these are the colors here you see. It's like in the countries which is more green, current diets are more aligned with the recommendations from in the planetary health diet, whereas the red countries are less aligned. And that might be because they have high intake of sugar or have refined grains instead of whole grains, low intake of fruits and vegetables, or yeah, a diet that is not aligning with what I showed on the previous slide. But what we did see was that if everyone in the world would change to a diet which would give them a green color, we could actually prevent around 15 million premature deaths every year. And that's 40,000 deaths every day. So it's quite amazing the impact the diet has on your health and your survival. And also keeping this in mind, so this is kind of the average current diet that we have. We also looked at globally in all countries around the world, what does the traditional diets look like in relation to the Plant Your Health diet? So looking at more traditional crops, more traditional grains, we did see that many of the more traditional, so what you were maybe eating 50 years ago, 100 years ago, it's much more aligned with the healthy dietary pattern than current diets. So this really emphasizes how important it is to really preserve the local diversity so that we're not everyone eating the same food. If you live in North Africa, you should really keep eating the diet that you have today. You see, it's quite green. But also in other parts of the world, looking at what were the crops that are naturally grown in my area. Not that we all have to eat locally all the time, but there's so much variety and health in local diets as well. Next, please. Yeah, so that was the health side of it. And as I said, we did see that this healthy dietary pattern actually has a lower environmental impact as well. But then we wanted to see, the whole food system, how this impacts on the environment. And we were asking ourselves also some questions. So how can we produce the planetary health diets in a sustainable way? So even though it's more sustainable than many current diets, is there a potential to make it even more sustainable if we're changing our production practices? And which footprints is unavoidable from the food system, recognizing that we all need to eat and the population is growing. There will obviously be some impacts from the food we're producing. So how large is that impact that we need to have on the planet? But yeah, so first of all, we did assess where the food system is today. Next, please. So here's the verdict. So this is, I don't know, some of you might have heard of the planetary boundaries, which is like 9 sets of like Earth system processes that are all like a measurement of it's the health check of the planet, what's the status of the planet. And if the planet is healthy, if we don't have too much climate change, if we have a good diversity, like biodiversity, if we're using land and water sustainably, we should be like this, the arms you're seeing should be within the yellow dotted line. And the dark green is like the total impact of everything we're doing. So not just the food system, but also transportation, producing clothes, our travels, like every day, everything we do, like we as humans do to the planet. And then the lighter green is the food system's share of those impacts. So as you can see, the food system is a large share of many environmental impacts. The larger one there is something called the novel entities, which are like the microplastics, the antimicrobials in nature, other kind of pollutants that are in nature. And here we assess the pesticides and antimicrobials, and you can see that the food system really contributes a lot especially through like monotonous, large-scale animal farming. And then, also climate change and biodiversity loss is hugely impacted by the food we eat. Next, please. And the third dimension that we assessed was justice. So putting justice really at the center of food systems and food systems transformation is so important because, I mean, we're humans. We really do this work or we produce food to sustain human life. So the healthy diet is healthy for humans. The planet, like I said, the stable Earth systems is really to have a place where humans can live. And then the justice dimension is about, you know, the fair access for everyone to healthy diet. So affordability was mentioned here by you guys initially as a concern. So how can we all afford a healthy diet, and how can the food system treat the workers fairly? Next, please. So we measured this it through these indicators. So it's like a putting like in a human rights based approach, assessing some of the the human rights that are key to food systems. So the right to food or a healthy diet for all, ensuring affordable healthy diets, healthy food environments, the right to a healthy environment, that we don't have too much pollution, and that that the temperatures don't get too high, that the water, that we have clean drinking water. The right to decent work, as I mentioned, that we can have the food system workers have a living wage and also meaningful representation. Next, please. So here's the outcomes of the assessment on the social foundations. And you can see that loads, like billions of people are below these social foundations. So especially a healthy food environment, we're all, you know, we're bombarded with commercials of unhealthy foods, sugar-sweetened beverages are easily available, ultra-processed unhealthy foods, cheap and easily available. And this, and also the non-toxic environment, which is actually like unsafe drinking water. Lots of us are exposed to this. So actually, like half of the world population are not meeting these social foundations for a healthy life. And maybe lastly, then my next slide. Yeah, next again, please. Well, I think if I'm short on time, I can go one more. This one I wanted to show. So like half of the global population is actually like below the social foundation. So that means like left of the vertical yellow line here. So their kind of needs are not met. And then more than that, like 70% of us are above the planetary boundaries, meaning that the food we consume have a larger impact than it should on the planet. And then eventually only like 150 million people, around 1% of the global population, lives in this safe and just space where their social foundations, their justice needs are met, their human rights are met, and they're also living like sustainably for the planet. So this is where we want everyone to be, in the bottom right corner, but only 1% of the global population is today. So this is why this really concerns about, like, it's a concern for everyone, because it's people in every country of the world, in every region. We have people, like most of us are outside of this safe and just space. We have responsibilities to act ourselves, to change our lifestyles ourselves, but also work to a more fair and sustainable world for those around us. So next, please. And next. So this is my concluding remark. So that food systems cannot be just without ensuring the planetary health diet is affordable and accessible to all, and without substantially reducing transgressions of planetary boundaries. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. That was wonderful. And you've just managed to cram a whole lot in there. That was a fast-paced main course for us there. And I must say to everybody, you had lots of various questions for Ellen throughout that. Ellen, if you have some point during this session now, if you could perhaps have a look at the Q&A and answer that. And yeah. Also, just a few people have been asking, will it be will these slides be available? Yes, they definitely will be available. You'll be able to see all of the feedback from Ellen, and we will also be sharing this recording. So thank you very much, Ellen. That
Can
was
I just
really,
make a final remark to this
of course,
picture?
yes, yes, yes,
Because
yes.
this is like really also, showing that a healthy diet doesn't need to look the same everywhere in the world. All these plates are, healthy, whole grains, vegetables, uh, eggs, some chicken and some fish from around the world, really showing what a healthy diet could look like. So it's not like it's monotonous. It's not like we're saying, you should eat, this broccoli or carrots, or it's really diverse and inclusive. It's really, pick the vegetables and the grains and the fish that is available in your country or your city where you're living, and, make it into the dish that you like.
And again, I think you think about some of the questions that we had at the start there about the different ways, and we were talking about protein and we were talking about traditional meals. All of those look exciting meals, don't they? They look like they're something that you want to eat. And again, what Eleanor's presenting to us here, we're going to be sharing with you our Global Action Days campaign very soon. And remember this picture, please, because there might be something very similar that's going to be one of the activities. But Ellen, thank you again. You've really kind of set the table beautifully for our next speaker. So introducing now, next up to the table, from science to storytelling, from global and now down to a very personal experience. Our next speaker is Isaias Hernandez, and Isaias is an environmental educator, creative, communicator, and he's also the voice behind Queer Brown Vegan. So what's very beautiful is Isaias uses art, digital storytelling and education to make environmental topics and accessible for all. So please welcome to the table, everybody, Isaias. Hey Isaias, are you there? I think Isaiah's just waiting to join us at the table for a little bit longer. But what's really good here is what we're going to hear from Isaias is that, and we've seen as well with Ellen, that there's this idea of sustainable diets. It can be fun, it can be joyful, it can be something that can bring us together, and it can be a really heartfelt approach. And I think what Isaias is going to be sharing with us is how he specifically was and got into this particular sector. So I'm not sure if Isaias might be having a few problems joining. He is on the west coast of the US, so
Oh,
it is very, very early. It's
oh,
even
sorry
before
about
breakfast
that.
time. Not a
I'm having
problem,
issues with
Isaias.
my webcam and I can't turn it on and it keeps freezing when I turn it on. Is it okay if I have my webcam off for this purpose? Sorry about that.
Of course, Isaias, don't worry. We can all stare at your picture there and then come back to it after. So we've got your slides for you. Don't you worry. I'm going
Perfect.
to open the floor to you now, Isaias.
Okay, awesome. But hi everyone. My name is Isaias Hernandez, and thank you so much everyone for being here. I'm actually from Los Angeles, California, so I am from the United States, and I absolutely love the presentation that was talked about earlier, as I think it's really important for all of us to find food systems and cultural wealth in the ways that we navigate the world. I am a former environmental scientist. I went to UC Berkeley to study environmental science because I believe that our climate crisis today is very rooted in human rights and environmental rights. And so my curiosity for environmental literacy actually began at a very young age. For me, I grew up in low income here in the United States, living off of government food assistance programs and other resources. And my experiences growing up low income and having a family that was struggling with economic needs made me realize like how economic situation was also an issue to access food. One of the things I remember noticing when I was a kid is going to food banks and getting a lot of products that were often heavy meat and dairy, that were often products that weren't the highest quality, or a lot of processed foods. And I remember very clearly not really having access to fresh produce. It was almost like a 45-minute drive to even go to a grocery store. And so for me, that kind of influenced my idea of the ways that I wanted to talk about environmental issues. In college, I actually had the privilege to learn about our global food system and some of the issues that we're encountering. And I think one of the reasons why I became vegan myself in my own world is that in the United States, our agribusiness industry has really destroyed communities' health nearby, but also is an unsustainable production. When we look at it through the industrialized lens, I think anyone who has been to an industrial farm recognizes the inhumane treatment that happens to all species and humans and animals. And one of the things that actually got me more motivated is that when I would drive from Los Angeles to San Francisco to go to university, you would pass by a lot of the farms in California, and a lot of those regions often are emitting high levels of methane gas emissions, which are greenhouse gases. And you would just notice the large amount of manure smells and the large amount of animals that were often in those spaces. And so for me, I think it was really recognizable to be able to see the issue right in front of my eyes of what's been happening on that end. And so years later, when I graduated from college, I created an independent environmental platform that talks about a lot about justice, education, food systems, and really reconnecting it back to people's livelihoods. Next slide, please. And so one of the things that I really want to kind of take away with this main presentation is like how people are building ecological wealth over time. One of the things that I recognize as a very young kid is, feel free to comment on the chat if you actually recognize any of the brands on the left. And please note that this diagram is actually from the 2000s. So we obviously don't have Facebook, we have Meta now. But one of the things we are recognizing as an educator is the loss of ecological wealth and the loss of the increase of the humanizations of corporations. And one of the things I was recognizing in a lot of research with educators is how much educational systems in the United States have devalued ecological knowledge over time. It's been found that, a lot of young people today are not able to identify more than one plant species in their local neighborhood. And so this creates this sense of disconnection from nature. It creates a long-term a curiosity of like what's happening in our worlds. But also I would say that when we're humanizing corporations, we're also disconnecting ourselves from those lived relationships that we can have. And so one of the things that I tell people over time is really this idea of building ecological wealth over generational wealth, because ecological wealth really adds this new cultural wealth of the living species that are around us, and it adds living systems of how we're really interacting with ourselves, and whether that's planting a native garden in your own neighborhood, or whether that's increasing the amount of resources in your neighborhood. These are all types of things that we're recognizing that wealth cannot always buy ourselves out of any climate type of disaster. And so I think that in countries throughout the world, you'll see the devastating effects of the climate crisis, or you have either experienced a climate disaster on that end. If we can go to the next slide, please. And so I think like when we were talking about how our food diets look very, very different in the ways that we actually, grow up. I grew up in the city in Los Angeles, and I know that a lot of people often relate it to Hollywood or movies and celebrities, but in reality, Los Angeles is a very predominantly working class community. It has a lot of pockets of inequalities and inequities in the city. And for me, I grew up a lot in the city, what you would call with predominantly Black and Latino communities. And so for me, it was a very unique experience to be able to recognize some of the things that what made my sustainability journey. And these are kind of experiences where I got to actually learn a lot about my relationship to food. Next slide, please. And so one of the ways actually that I've been reconnecting to our food systems today is actually through the process of foraging. I am a huge mycological fan. And one of the things I often get frustrated when people are trying to make me to care more about food or connect with our food systems is a lot of us don't work in farms. A lot of us don't have access to gardens. A lot of us don't have access to really sometimes grow our own food or even go to farmers markets in our areas. And so for me, one of those ways to actually reconnect with our food systems today and understanding how food is produced or even food is grown locally is through foraging. On the left side to the right side, you'll see that I've really developed a skill set for myself to understand our food systems by not growing, but foraging chicken of the woods mushrooms, chanterelles. You have hen of the wood mushrooms. You have, porcini mushrooms. You have blackberries. You have lion's mane mushroom. And these are all mushrooms that I found throughout the season in my own neighborhood in the East Coast, where I used to live in New York. And I find it that the beauty of food is that there's such a diverse palette of colors. And when you are interacting with our food systems and what you can do, it opens up a new pathway of possibilities for yourself. And I also think that like the more that we're able to frame food as both a political and a cultural tool that has either nourished or oppressed communities historically, I think the more that we're able to kind of draw those links in developing a better food system. And this is something where I had to actually challenge myself is like, what would a local food system realistically look like in my community? Would it look like with all the products I'm getting at an industrial grocery store? Or would it look like something that actually is grown in the wild? And you know, with mushrooms, I think that they're often really denoted as this like evil entity or they're poisonous. But a lot of mushrooms are actually edible for humans, but they're also edible to non-humans, non-human animals, and they're also not edible to humans in that way. Next slide, please. And another thing I often did within rural landscapes and even to the urban landscapes is like the possibilities of urban foraging. One of the things I do throughout Los Angeles myself is actually forage for different types of produce. And I think that it's really important for people to kind of understand the importance of like redesigning your own food systems, even if you live in a city neighborhood. I really believe that these practices are being lost in our communities. And one way to actually reconnect with your community is creating your own local food system map. This is obviously very from an individual lens, but I think that it's a way to kind of promote, even find resources of how to grow food in your own community. Next slide, please. And yeah, these are some of the apps that I've used actually in the past before that have helped me kind of like, reduce my own food waste when we talk about technology. Even the Commons app, which is actually a carbon calculator in order to use your footprint. So it actually measures the amount of emissions that you're maybe using per day. It challenges you and offers you varieties of solutions on that end. Next slide, please. But with that being said, I think it's important for a lot of us to reconnect with our food systems on that end. And I apologize for not being able to show my face in this presentation. But there's obviously a lot of questions. If you have any questions, feel free to ask on that channel. But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you very much, Isaias. It's so lovely to see that story from the little boy there at the end, at the start, to you going out, doing the foraging. I am a fan. I've done some foraging courses myself as well. And what I really loved there was the point that you raised about this urban environment as well. We sometimes are so disconnected and we think that farming and food is something from rural areas. We're actually on our doorsteps. There's lots of things that we can do to help everybody have that access that we were talking about before, to help everybody have the finance, the time, the community to do that. So massively appreciate that. Thank you both. Now, before we move on to dessert, I've not finished with our speakers yet. I've got one more little activity for you, please, if you both don't mind. And obviously, a lot of the work that we're doing and what we've just seen from both of you is about the action. So I wonder if you both, please, if I could invite you both, Ellen and Isaiah, to give to each give us kind of one practical sustainability tip that you perhaps use in your day-to-day lives, that's something that you can recommend to our audience so they can take it away at the end. So Ellen, I'm putting you right on the spot here, but could you perhaps give us maybe one of your sustainability tips, something that you use at home? And Isaiah, will pass over to you as well then after that. Ellen, what's your tip?
Thank you. I was not able to turn on my camera. It was from your side, it says. That's why I'm not. But yes. So I think what to eat everything. So in my house we have weekly or bi-weekly leftover dinners. Toss the leftovers on a pizza or in a wrap, and it can be delicious yet another time. So that's what we do every week in my house.
Nice. So use everything up, almost like a makeup dinner. And Isaiah, I think I saw on one of your images, your graphics, somebody had put, in a Hispanic house, because at the end of the week, you don't know what you're going to get in your meal. So that's a great one. Yeah. And who knows what products you're going to create? You might make a really nice, tasty meal. Thank you, Ellen. Isaiah, what's your one food sustainability tip that people could take away, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that like if you're someone that doesn't like a certain produce, whether it's baked or good, try to preserve it through fermentation. I think that fermentation has been a very century-old technique that's been used in a lot of cultures. And my mom actually taught me how to ferment like chilies and other types of produce, and you could tell the differences of taste just by through fermentation. So I tell people that if you don't like it cooked, don't try it raw, but maybe bake it or try to ferment it. There's a lot of, or even try to blend it into some type of cream to make up like a sauce. I think a lot of people often try to give up just because it doesn't taste good. There's different forms of how to cook certain things.
That's very so the idea you might not like that particular produce in a certain way, but try pickling it, try roasting it, and then you might do it and it's not getting wasted. And actually, Isaac, that was one of the things when we were talking before about the barriers to eating more sustainably was people like they didn't know how to cook or kind of create their foods so in different ways that they would last. So perhaps there's more this elements of community cooking and kitchens together. Thank you both. We won't quite finished with you yet. We'll be calling you back up later. And for everybody here that's listening, we're also going to come back to you later as well towards the end of the session, because we want you to share your sustainability tips as well. And I'm going to ask Ellen and Isaiah if you can perhaps pick your favourite or ones that are coming up from the audience later on that you might take away from you. Okay, so moving on to my favorite part of the menu now, dessert. What we're going to do now is take those wonderful that examples that we've seen from both Ellen and Isaiah, and we're going to put them into action. And that is a big part of the work here that we do at FEE. So next slide, please. So at FEE, we believe that education of all ages and participation are the key ingredients for change. So what I want to share with you here are 3 things that you can do now at the end of this session. So the first one is, and I know we have many young people on the call and many of our FEE national operators, this is the official launch of the 2025-2026 Young Reporters for the Environment International Competition. Now, the YRE programme is a global leadership programme, and it's a community engagement programme. And we invite young people from the ages of 11 to 25 to take part and research and find out about solutions and hopeful solutions in their environment. And if we just have a look then for this year, our theme is food security and climate change. So what we'd like you to do at the end of this session, and like we said, we'll be sharing the slides and we're sharing a recording, is take all this wonderful information that's been shared with you from Ellen and from Isaiah, and dig a little bit further, research, see what's happening in your community, and become a young reporter for the environment. And you can submit your work to the national offices or the international offices in a variety of ways that suit for you. We've got photographs, we've got podcasts, we've got articles, we've got videos. So let today just be the start. Let this information that you're seeing today and go on your own food journey and have a look at what you can do. So that's one thing that you can do. The next thing that you can also do, and this is open to any age whatsoever, is a Global Action Days campaign. Now, the Global Action Days campaign is a growing movement that we have with the FEE network. Last year, we had nearly 500,000 people involved from 145 countries. And our goal this year is to get 1 million people. So that's wonderful, 1 million people involved in food security and climate change. And that campaign will be taking place from the 22nd of April until the 6th of May. And over that fortnight, we're going to ask everybody around the world to unite for food security and carry out 5 activities. And you can carry them out in any order. And this is what we're going to reveal now, our 5 activities. So number 1, the first activity that you'll be able to take part in is Palette of Plenty. Now, do you remember those lovely images that Ellen shared with us at the end of her presentation? We want you to do the same. We want you to create a healthy, sustainable meal. And we want you to take some pictures. The more colours, the more bright, the better. And we want you to share those with us and with our network. And actually now, thinking about what some of you were saying on here, it would be great if you could also share the recipes with us as well. So that's task number 1. We want you to make a bright, colourful, healthy meal that's good for you, that's good for the planet. Share a photo of that with us and perhaps a recipe. Activity number 2. So activity number 2, again, thinking back to some of the things that Ellen was saying with us, is legumes. So the beans, the chickpeas, the lentils as well. These perhaps are sometimes overlooked. So we want you to have a think about what recipes, what foods you can make using legumes, and legumes that are found within the area or near where you live. And again, make a healthy, nutritious meal that's good for you and good for the planet. Same thing, we want you to share the recipes and share the work that you've done. And perhaps for some of you, you might try new produce that you've never eaten before. So then we have activity number 3. Now, activity number 3 is going to fall across the weekend of the campaign. And this is where we want families to stop, to take a minute and to think about, if you remember at the start in the quiz, we asked you what food made you feel like home. That's what we'd like you to do here. We'd like you to sit down as a family, choose a meal, cook that meal together and talk and share that experience. Okay, next activity then that we have is our 4th activity, which is mapping a meal. So we're going to ask you to look at some food that you have in your house, in your home, and see exactly where your food has come from. How is it close by? Is it local or is it global? And what could you perhaps do to make that map shrink? And then finally, activity number 5 is, and you saw that we mentioned it before, and it was the one that most of you were struggling with, is looking at the labeling on our food. And we want you to come up with your own versions, your own ways of how you could label food to help people clearly understand what the content is it healthy for you, and is it healthy for the planet? So that's our Global Action Days. So you've got young reporters and you've got a campaign starting on the 22nd of April. We will bring this up again, but you can scan the QR code and you can register on here. And we've got one more thing that you can do instantly as well, especially if you are an educator. So we are currently running a lesson plan competition for teachers all around the world to submit their best lesson plans on healthy people and a healthy planet. and they are open to any age range of young people that you would be teaching. So teachers, please do have a look at that, and full recognition. We'd love to see lessons that aren't just necessarily in science or home technology, but maybe even in art, in history, in modern foreign languages. So that's what you can do now. I'm going to pass over to two of my colleagues, Jessica and Raquel, who are going to tell you about even more actions and activities that will be coming up in the new year that you can get involved in. So over to you, team.
Hi everybody, I'm Jessica. I'm the project manager of the PLAN'EAT project in FI. So we are developing an education toolbox to support teachers in empowering students to make healthier and more sustainable food choice. So in this toolbox, you will be able to find the curriculum framework it's really dedicated to educator with different learning outcomes per age group. We are also developing some lesson plans on key topics. So some you have already heard about it in this presentation, like food waste, seasonal produce, how to support local food, and many more. We are also developing some specific fact sheet that will help to also address some misconception, because we have seen in the survey at the beginning, there might be some misconception about healthy food is perceived as expensive. And also there is maybe a lack of knowledge how to prepare healthy food. So we could address this, and teacher can help students and family with this. And also we had a good question in the chat about how to promote the protein shift to plant-based. And it's also something we want to address, because it's a big part of the recommendation from the Eat Lancet Hélène has presented also. So this education toolbox will be ready next year, and we will start testing all the material into our school network in early next year. And if you want already to give some comment about the content and receive some of our lesson plan already designed for teachers, you can send me an email. It's written on the slide. Thanks a lot.
And I'm here to talk about Didactic Bricks. This is a project that we're also taking part of out of 6 partners, and it's a project funded by Erasmus+. And what we're trying to do is think if lesson plans could be made to be like music playlists, that you can pick songs, you can pick lesson plans, and together build a playlist like it is on whatever music platform you normally listen to. And if you go to the next slide, we're working on this together with teachers themselves. So how do they envision lesson plans? What are the difficulties they are normally working on for them to find it? Where do they normally find them? And how can we build a tool and a prototype that it can be that when they are going to make their lesson plan, they can make it as easy as possible. So how we did this is we recently had a hackathon, which is a great idea to start any idea you have with any of your projects going on. And we presented the idea to them, but we wanted them to hack it for us. So we wanted to know how they think it's a good idea and how they think it's a bad idea. And together we built this potential website and potential tool where these lesson plans can be shared amongst all the members and all the network and everyone involved, for teachers to find it easy to make lesson plans in a world that is very busy and very chaotic, so at least we can together help each other out. The project is still ongoing. We're still building the prototype. We're still hacking it. So for now, you can just go to Didactic Bricks, our website and our EcoSchools website, and you can find out a little bit about it. But for now, it's in the works. Back to you, Lee.
Thank you, Raquel. Thank you, Jess. And that's it, guys. We are coming to the end of our lovely menu and time together. We've shared some excellent ideas. We've had some wonderful discussions. The floor is still open. This is just the launch of this theme. Hopefully we will have Isaiah and Ellen back again for some more work. But remember, this is just the start of the coffee and perhaps the conversation. But before we let you go, We just want to make sure we really truly do end on a wrap up that is action focused. So we're going to do one more poll for just 1 more minute. We've heard from Ellen and Isaiah their trips, and we would like you to answer 2 questions. 2 questions here. Can you give us your sustainable tip? Is it pickling? Is it using everything up? Is it using wraps? Give us your sustainability tips. And also, are you feeling inspired? After this, are you going to take part in the YRE competition? Are you going to take part in Global Action Days, or are you going to do both? So we're just going to give you 30 seconds to go through, give us some of your tips, and let us know what you're doing. And then I think Ellen might have had to, Ellen, if you're still on for a second, if you can hang around just for 1 more minute, I'll invite you and Isaiah to maybe pick some of the sustainable food tips, the ones that you're favourites. So for those online, we'll just be 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we will be wrapping up this session. So your favourite for food sustainability tip and what you'll be doing after this event. And like we say, please do take part, register, share. These tips can be shared globally as well. Team, can we have a look at some of the answers, please? Can we swap over to some of the questions? Are we able to see some of the food sustainability tips, guys? I'm not quite sure. But what I am looking forward to and seeing is that we have got a lot of engagement here. Over half of you are going to take part in Global Action Days. Half of you are going to take part in both YRE and Global Action Days. And Isaiah, I don't know if you want to pick one word off that food map, if you can see it there, that shouts out to you as a good, sustainable food tip, please.
Yeah, I would choose local. I think choosing local is always the best way to reduce emissions.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And Ellen, any one word on there that stands out to you as a sustainable food tip?
Yeah, I like I see that quite a few have said freeze your leftovers or freeze the food, and I think that's a really good tip. Food stays nutritious and good in the freezer, and you keep it fresh for later.
Excellent. And I can see lots of this idea of using leftovers. Excellent. Okay, guys, so that's it then. Our menu has come to an end. I hope you've enjoyed it. For those of you that are staying behind now, I hope you're going to help us wash the dishes. Is anybody going to stay behind and have a chat with us and wash up? But the very last thing we can do, if we can just go on to the next slide, please, guys. If you were interested in Global Action Days, please register here. I know we can't see or hear some of you, but please give a big round of applause. Thank you for joining with us for Menu for Change. This is just the start of great things to come, and genuinely we greatly appreciate. So keep these conversations going, keep cooking up a change, and we're going to be making a big impact together. Thank you, everybody.